Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are going to continue with the rear brakes. We've got our rear seal kit in, which I can come and show you guys over here on the table. So that's courtesy of Steve up at Das Resto. So we've got a full kit down. We've also just taken the bearing carrier off. We've got a couple of the new pieces that need to go on. I'll just show you what I've done. So we've got our new little shim. We've got our new O-ring on there, put a little bit of rubber grease around it, and now we're ready to start assembling the rest of it. So, happy days. We've got to put our little collar on. That's our little collar. That's going to slip on next. We'll go and give that a bit of a clean up. Chuck it up here on the table. You've got to love how they go and stamp them. If you have a look just inside here, there's a VW stamp. There, and there. So there's 3 little stamps on it, on that inside section where the O-ring connects to. Not bad. Go and take you guys over to here. And you can see we've got the O-ring in there, got a little bit of rubber grease on there, and we've got the chamfer that goes on towards the O-ring, like so. Pop that like that. And then now the next thing we're going to do is just clean up these faces here, make sure they're nice and clean. We can put a gasket on there, and then we can put our backing plate with the drum, oh, this part right here I should say, that whole mechanism, that can go on. Then we put another gasket, and then we can actually get the rest of it. But we'll go and assemble all these parts first, I suppose. This will be the next bit. We just got to push out these old bearings and, not bearings, sorry. We need to push out old seal and that little oil sling or whatever you want to call it. So we'll pop those out, and then we can put the new bits in. And also this face here needs a good clean because we've got a bit of KBS on there. So we'll just go and trim this all. Make sure we've got no junk on here. And she is very, very blocked up. So once we take out the seal, we're going to make sure this little gallery here is cleaned out. Got a lot of filth, gook, muck in there. Well and truly blocked. So we have to take out the seal, or knock this guy out first. So let's have a look in here. Yeah, our little hole is blocked. Now we might get the compressor onto that. Pop a bit of WD-40 in there. Make sure that passage is completely cleaned out. And it is. There we go. So that's quite critical, that little part. You want to make sure that that is clear. You can see some little muppets come in here and damage that surface there a little bit too, unfortunately. So I might have to get a bit of emery paper on that and just clean that up a bit. Righto, so we've got the bearing carrier cleaned out. We've also cleaned out the oil gallery there. That's obviously when your seal fails, what will happen is it'll just trickle oil down through here and then come out through there, and then it'll drip out and it'll tell you that you need to change your seals. So here's the new kit. So we've basically got the 2 gaskets, one either side. We've got split pin for the axle, and then we've got our seal, our oil retainer sling that goes in first. So that actually sits inside here first, like that. Next, our seal goes in like so. I always like to just put a little bit of rubber grease on these, just on the rim on here. Just helps them go in a little bit easier, like that. And that just pops in like so. Got to make sure you get them in nice and straight, and then tap them in. Like that. That's it. So that's done. Next we've got this little O-ring that goes on. Again, I'll just put a little bit of this rubber grease on it. I don't know, the rubber quality these days isn't that good, so that just sits inside here like so. Okay, so first off we've got to put our little spacer on. That sits on. Then O-ring, like that. Make sure he sits where he needs to go. And then our spacer with the beveled side, that goes on like so, onto the O-ring. Now we're going to go and put some goop on here, put the gasket on, and then we can put our backing plate on. I'm just using some 3-bond liquid gasket, and all we're going to do here is just put a little bit on this face. Don't need a lot of it. I just don't trust these gaskets these days, so that's why I like to just put a little bit of extra security from leaking, which is a good thing, I think. Pop that one on, make sure the little hole lines up like so. Maybe put another bit of goop on top of that. Just a real very small amount, just in case. Just going to put a bit on this one. This is going to go onto the plate. Alright, this one's going to go onto the bearing, so I'll go and put him on now. So you can see here, I've just put that gasket onto here. Now goes the backing plate. This goes this guy. This guy back in. This one here goes just down inside here. And we'll tighten him up in a minute. And then we've got these 3 here. So that's pretty much it finished. We can stick the handbrake cable in next, and that's reasonably straightforward. Just goes in through the little hole here. Pop that cable in through here, and the little retaining clip at the back will go into its spot, and then that goes over the top of that guy there. So one of the next things I've just done off camera was put the brake lines in, and you can see where they mount up into there. Same on that side there. We've got these little locking plates down here. Yeah, that's done. I've just got to do the rest of it now inside here. So there's a little brass wire junction there, and then we need to run the rest of the lines to the front of the vehicle. And of course we have actually bought the kit, which they're all flared and ready to go, which is a good thing, so we don't have to sit there and muck around with them. So yeah, those ones are done. We've just got to continue, take it up to the front, yeah, go from there. Here's the master cylinder kit, guys. So I just pulled that out of the box. So it's a CSP one from Germany, good quality. Obviously dual master cylinder. We're not allowed to really run the singles here in Australia, so we've got to upgrade them. So that has to be bench bled, and I'm going to do a video on just doing that here, but I don't have any brake fluids. I've got to go and get some brake fluid, and I figured, well, I'm not going to go and do a 20-minute commute, so we'll just get on with something else while we're waiting to get that stuff. So we're going to do the steering box, and the steering box is pretty manky, as you can see here. We're going to just chuck it in a sandblaster and give it a good clean, and we'll paint it with some KBS. There is a tiny bit of play in the pitman arm here. It's really not too bad. I think we might, we could probably get that little bit of slop out of that with the adjusting screw just here. We'll have a crack at that. I mean, they do always have a tiny bit of wear in them anyway. We'll look into it. I don't know whether I've got a feeling that seal there will need to be replaced, so we might just do a video on it. Might do a tear down video on it, get a seal for that and rebuild it. Probably a good idea too. Anyway, let's chuck this in the sandblasting cabinet and get her clean. Here's the steering box out of the sandblaster. Come up all right, pretty clean. We're going to change this seal. I just think it's probably not a good idea to go and paint it black and then mount it and then find it starts dripping out here. And the chances are it probably will drip out there. And it's an easy fix. So I've already taken the split pin out. We're going to undo this nut, take the pitman arm off, and then we can get to the seal. And I'm hoping I've got one here, otherwise we're going to have to order it. It basically just looks like a seal like this, but a small version that goes in there. And that just stops the oil from coming out. So what we'll do is we'll also spin it around, crack the other case off and check inside it. Just make sure it's all good and we can seal it back up with some Sikaflex and go from there, paint it black. Okay, so we take the nut off, and I've got a little puller. Just slip that over the top like so, and tighten her up. Just pull this sucker off. Okay, so we've broken it free with the puller, and I'll just, still a bit hot to touch. You can probably just get it off. Come on, out you come, there we go. That's off. And you can see the seal is just in here. It actually has a number on it, so it is a generic seal. So, but what we're going to do to remove it, I'm going to take the shaft out and just empty the guts out inside. So we're going to flip her over now and take the cover off and see what's going on inside, because, you know, it's steering. It's probably going to make a mess, but that's all right. Right, let's crack this open and see what's going on inside. Probably a lot of oil, I would imagine. Oh yeah. And not very good oil too. Now, where do we want to put this? Probably outside. Okay, so I've drained out the fluid into a bucket outside, and it's really, really thick stuff. What they normally use is something like this, which is a really heavy oil. I don't know what the weight is on it, but it's just like, you know, heavier than honey. Anyway, let's have a look inside. I've just cleaned it out. That's obviously how the lid comes off. That's your little adjusting screw here. And what that does is it puts pressure on this part here. Well, it sits there like that. That actually screws down in. You've got the locking nut on top, obviously, and it puts pressure on this part here. And that just puts a bit more pressure on the actual wheel for it to move. And then that's how the worm drive works. Just goes up and down. So what normally wears out on these things is that pin just there, and that's on a bearing too. You can see that. You can buy this pin. It's frightfully expensive. I think I paid, the last time I had to restore one of these, I think it was like $300 or $400 Australian just for that little part. But that does normally wear out. This one's not too bad, which again, it always puzzles me. It always puzzles me when you see these, you know, 60-year-old cars and you think, well, they haven't done much work. I reckon this thing was in the paddock on the farm and probably hardly did any work. But you can see inside here the wear marks on the sides of the walls there. And again, there's not a lot of slop in this one, so I reckon we're not going to have to do too much to it. In the past, I've had to press out those brass bearing bushes in here and put new ones in and then ream them. But don't have to do that. This one's pretty good. There's the seal. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you try and get it out. It just gets destroyed, but it's a generic seal, so it's easy to get. Just got to order. There's normally the part numbers on them on the front there, which I've taken a photo. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm going to have to wait now, obviously, for this to come in the mail. I don't know how long that's going to take. So what we'll do is I'm just going to put it all back together now, give it a once-over clean, and then paint it with some KBS, and then at least it's ready to go later on. So let's get that ready to rock. So we have the steering box hung up. This is my ghetto hanging mechanism. And let's get some KBS on this thing. We'll just put a bit of cardboard down on the ground because it will drip. We can get this thing painted. Okay, so one thing I want to do just with blending a bit more of the paint is I just want to attack these vents a little bit and just give them some shadowing, this sort of effect here, what's going on. So what I'm going to do is to spray some red oxide over all of them and then come back over it with the blue, and with the airbrush just hit the bottom layer so that the top has the red oxide sort of fading, kind of just to replicate what would happen if it was, you know, left to the elements on that angle, I suppose, like this leading edge here, having that little bit of red oxide. I just want to blend that through. I might even just attack the top of that door a bit more. It's still got a fair bit on there, but I'd like to just blend that a little bit better, I think. And I'll do the same on the other side. Okay, that will do that. We'll let that dry. And then we're going to come back and get some blue. And we just feather that in a little bit more. And we'll just, yeah, give it a little bit more balance. Might even just do that top edge there too. All right, excellent. So here's our new rear discs. These ones are made in Germany and they are beautiful quality. Oh, look at these guys. And they've even got, this is the bit I love about it. Look at that. Made in Germany. It's got all the, what are they called? Sebro. So really, really nice, nicely made machined, beautifully machined drums. However, and there's always a however, I went to put them on and that is as far as it goes, and now I can't get it off. So what's actually happened is the spline, and I did clean up the splines with a file and sandpaper and made sure they were absolutely spotless, and even same with the spline inside here as well. Gave them a really good clean out, put some lubrication. I'll put a bit of anti-seize onto the actual this part here. So yeah, look, I really made sure they were super clean and put them on, and I figured, well, it's got to be a fairly good press fit, right? No. So what's happened now is that is on about a quarter of the way. You can see there it's not home, and it will not go any further. And of course I'm not going to go whacking it with a hammer because you'll do damage to the bearing, and I can't get it off. I've tried tapping it very gently with that hammer there, obviously not to damage the metal, and it will not come off. So I've had to go and order a hydraulic puller because I don't have one. It's one of those tools. It's like, yeah, you know, you work on VWs, you probably do need to have it. So anyway, I just bought one of these. It's about $100, so it's not too bad. So it's on the way, but at the moment now, that is stuck on. And I just don't, yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously the tolerances aren't exactly perfect for the two things to marry. So we're going to have to, once I do get it off, I'm going to have to go back over it again with the file, probably in the grooves, muck around with it. You know, I reckon I spent a good 2 hours on it, and I've thought it was good to go, but no doubt. Anyway, that we have to fix that up. I did go back over these vents as well. You can see there I just added a little bit of highlights, a little bit of red oxide highlights to the top and bottom one, and just tried to blend that highlight across that top edge all the way around. And I also did it around the back. I fixed up little repaired up area there too, and on the other side over there as well. So just tried to get it a little bit nicer. I've also installed the stay for the engine lid. That engine lid will be almost ready to install. So we've got some brake lines to play around with. Yeah, we'll probably just wait for this puller now and at least get the rear drums nipped up and finished. Then I can move on to the front, get the front ones on, and then we can get it back on its wheels. I mean, most of the stuff underneath is pretty much done. So anyway, let's keep moving. So we've got a new plan. For whatever reason, I cannot get those rear drums on, and I actually went on to the Sandbar and found out that this brand are notorious for not wanting to go on with the splines. They're very, very tight. So my plan is, just because I don't want to wail on the bearings, I've got another set of these shafts at my parents' place, and I'm going to go and get them, put the shaft in the vise, and then I can tap till my heart's content and use the puller back and forth, just to make them actually work. And then I can get them mounted on here. I've tried filing inside here. I've tried filing on the top. No way, they just won't go on. So, and like I said, I just don't want to start pounding on them. I reckon it'll just wreck the bearings on the other side of this. So we're going to leave this for now, and we're going to move on to the front. And I've got some new shoes to put onto the front brakes. So we're just going to go and mount those back up onto the backing plates. Get that bolted into position here. And then we can swap out these shoes that are a bit worn out. And they're actually very, very old ones. You can see they've got the little rivet holes in them. And you can see it's snapped there. So we'll remove those guys, but we're going to put these wheel cylinders are actually quite good. They were on the old Burgundy bus and they worked fine. So we're going to reuse those. Yeah, let's get this done. We've got this guy all bolted on. Next is going to be these guys. And I did have them all perfect, but now they've fallen apart. Okay, so that is done. A little bit of a struggle to get the shoes on. I probably wasn't doing it the right way. I just manhandled it with my hands, but I'm sure you could use some big long Stilsons or something. But anyway, they're all done. Everything's home. Obviously, that's your adjustment, top and bottom. And we're going to go and get some other. Those drums there are knackered. And I've got some other drums that we're going to use, so we'll go and grab those, and then we can get all the bearings cleaned up, re-greased, get these finished. Let's keep moving. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to put the drum on. What I've done with this is ones that I had off another bus, and I've just cleaned them up on the inside, took the bearings out, cleaned them first in some brake clean, and repacked them, put the seal back in, and I've got the other bits and pieces up here. You can see I've just been using these tubs and getting all these bearings all cleaned up, and they're still pretty good actually. That's the one that's packed ready to go, so that's going to go in there now. And yeah, let's go and get her installed. Righto, now we're going to get we're just going to pack some grease inside and then put the bearing on. Alright, so we've got one of the lock nuts on, and we've got to put this little locking clip on, and that just goes on like so. Give it a tappy, or drop it. Seriously? All I've got to do now is go and give this a clean up, pack it with some grease, pop it on, and we're all good. All right, we've got the dust cap on. This one actually had a hole in it as well as the other side, so I ended up just plugging it up with some weld. That's all done. Just give it a little black paint quickly. Make it look pretty, even though it's going to have hubcaps on it. There we go. Done diddly done. We can get the wheel back on this. We'll still have to adjust the brakes down the track, and I've got to go and get a brake switch and a few other bits and pieces so we can bleed the brakes. But that job is done. It's getting late, and I think that's it for this week's episode. What else have we got to do? Still plenty. Got to get the lights, got to do the safaris, got to do the front doors, all the latches. The semaphores need to be rebuilt. We're still waiting for the motor. Poor oven boy got COVID, so he's been sick. He's getting over it now, but I haven't been able to go up there and work on the Beetle at all for the last 3 weeks, so hopefully we'll get back up there soon. Anyway, that'll do it for today. We'll see you in the next one, guys.